All right, we are live. Let me just get this cranking here. Get everything situated. All right, I think we live on the Instagram too. All right, we're going to give it a minute or two. Get everybody up in here, and we'll then get going. We'll get this thing moving. Make sure we got everything connected here. I think we're good. All right. All right, we're just going to give it a quick minute. We're going to be talking about, I see the title, Occult Science 101. All right, so I'm going to give it a minute. Last minute thing. It's infernal blessings to everybody. Figure I'll come on here for about an hour or two. We'll see how it goes. All right, so see, we got some people coming in. Jenny, Out of the Blue, Goddess Isis, Serpent-Headed Mask, Queen Kadesh. I cut that off. All right. All right, so greetings to everybody that's here. What's going on? All right, so we're live on Instagram, Primordial Chaos 9. We are live here on YouTube, Primordial Chaos. I will post this to the YouTube Facebook page after it uploads. I don't do the live on Facebook no more because Facebook has become very annoying with the live. They ask for too much information and shit, so I don't bother with it. No big deal. I just upload it to all the platforms. But while we're waiting, I'll give it another couple minutes. Let me just run through some quick announcements. Ken Sanford, what's going on, brother? All right, so to those that's here, to those on the way in, as always in the beginning, I'd like to just keep people abreast of what we got going on and what we are doing. I have posted a update video a few days back and giving people updates on classes, the Patreon page, events, things we got going on down here. So looks like for now, you don't know what these clowns are up to as far as the COVID, Omnicron, crumb cake, whatever the hell they're calling it now. Looks like things is really, we'll find out the game or the hype with the next big holiday or gathering or event, which I don't even know what the fuck that is. I think it's 4th of July Memorial Day would probably be the quote unquote next big physical gathering. So let's see. But they're running out of juice now because without spikes, they can't pump that fear. But anyway, not to dwell on that shit. I don't even want to feed that no life and no power. But things is really flowing as far as here in South Florida, wide open, always has been, but even more wide open. So we're back to, for the last few months, doing monthly events with limited space. So last Friday of the month, I'm opening that back up where I used to let people come that were visiting from out of town. If you are interested in attending month ritual, there's no charge. You just need to make your way here, but you need to contact me and connect with me real brief so we could have a quick conversation to make sure everything is in line. So I will open that up. We haven't had that monthly ritual open invitation since I guess before this pandemic shit kicked off. But again, you need to reach out to me if you do want to come. You need to have a quick conversation just to go over a few things, and then we'll take it from there. So I wanted to put that out there. Our next monthly ritual, which if you're not here in person, the only way you can participate would be on Patreon. Tier 3 and above would be where you want to be. That gives you access to the rituals and the classes. That's the best, and I'll talk about that in a second. The ritual that we will be tapping into, I'm going to go over that in a minute at the end of the month. But let me actually, like I rather do, pull up the actual dates and times rather than, I don't want to throw the wrong dates out there. And everything I'm telling you also, while we're waiting, just run through these quick announcements. Everything I'm telling you is posted on all of the platforms, Primordial Chaos 9, Primordial Chaos on Facebook, and right here in the community section of the YouTube page is where you can stay abreast of all the latest classes and announcements. Make sure you subscribe to the channel, hit the like button. Again, I have to always reiterate this. It's any channel, not just mine. When you subscribe and hit the notification bell, make sure the drop-down menu comes and you hit all notifications. If you don't, YouTube is just going to decide what notifications you're going to get and not, because people always say, I don't get all the notifications. Most of the time, it's because they don't have all notifications checked in the drop-down menu. So this way, when all notification menu is checked, you'll get, if there's a recorded class that uploads, which I don't do too many of those, or live like this, you'll get a notification. So make sure you hit the like button, subscribe to the channel, and make sure that notification bell is checked in that drop down where you see the bell. All right, so let me run through the classes. So as I was saying, the ritual, which will be at the end of this month, the 3 aspects of Akate ritual, which we will be doing on Friday, March 25th at 8 p.m. Eastern Standard Time. It is open if anybody would like to come live and participate. There is limited space, though. I'm opening that back up for the first time, probably almost in 2 years, year and a half. We've been doing it locally here with the group here, the small group that we have here locally. But if you are interested, again, contact me. Send me an email, khnum19@gmail.com, and then we will go from there. So that's going to be on Friday, March 25th. 8 p.m. If you are a Tier 3 member of Patreon, you have access to it. And then our next class, we have Shadow Work class number 4. We're on the 4th. I do advise those. I know we have some new Patreon members that joined in the last week or so. Try to get caught up on the previous classes if you can and you have the time to kind of get in line to where we are. It might be impossible for you to get through the whole journaling process that we have just completed. But you can take the classes in your own time if you can't get there live. And again, I want to reiterate that people always ask, they're hesitant sometimes about joining Patreon because they say, I can't get to all the classes live. That's okay. It doesn't matter. Everything is recorded and archived. Obviously, it's best if you can come live. If you have the schedule and you're able to, that's obviously the best way. But if you can't, everything is archived and recorded. You also get access to everything prior to before you joined. So you get all the classes dating back to when the channel first started, in addition to the current ongoing classes and obviously future classes and rituals on Tier 3. So Tier 3 is your best option. Individually, each class is $56. All the information to sign up for any of the classes is the same. You can pay by PayPal or Cash App, and that information is posted again on those platforms I mentioned here on YouTube in the community section. On the Primordial Chaos 9 Instagram page, which we are live on right now also, and also on the Primordial Chaos Facebook, right? So that's for all the classes, so I don't have to repeat that. The next class after that is Saturday, March 19th at 3 to 5:30 p.m. That's African Witchcraft and Sorcery class number 5. These are ongoing series. And again, if you join now, you still have access to all the previous classes in that series. We are up to class 5 in that. That's Saturday, March 19th, 3 to 5:30. And then Saturday, March 26th from 3 to 5:30 p.m., the Ancient Egyptian Vampirism class number 4. We're in the 4th of that series. So that's the upcoming classes and rituals for this month. Also, I want to put out there again, keep pumping the Journey of the Black Adept Conference number 5, which is... Man, I know I say this shit every year. The time is flying by. It's like 19, 20, and 21 flew by, and 22 to me feels like it's going super fast. We're already in March. I feel like I just took down Christmas decorations and shit, and that it just doesn't. It feel like I just did that shit literally. But it's flying, so we want to start putting that out there. Journey of the Black Adept Conference. Let me get the right dates. It's always the last weekend in October, but let me give you the right dates, just so it's better I do this the right way. All right, so the exact dates. So we have the exact dates. It'll be exactly October 27th will be the meet and greet like we did last year. We meet Thursday night. We get a little bite to eat, some drinks. We just talk. Everybody introduces each other. Kind of just like a social gathering to break the ice, a meet and greet. That's what it is. That'll be on the first night on Thursday, October 27th. We usually do that around 8 o'clock. And then we get right to work on Friday, October 28th. It's when the classes and the workshops will begin. We run those from about 9 to 3:30. We do take a short lunch break in the middle. Then we take a break and we return later that evening around 7:30, 8 o'clock, and we do our nightly ritual for Friday. We repeat that same process on Saturday. Classes and workshops also on the 29th of October. All day from 9 to 3:30 with a lunch break. And then again, usually the second day we do an outdoor working where we do a ritual outside, the beach, the cemetery. We're not sure what we're going to do this year. We have a couple ideas. Well, we do have a ritual for that outside, I should say, already in the works. That's being prepared by Brother Will out in Minnesota. That's going to be a ritual you probably do not want to miss. And then we conclude the event with Sunday, October 30th. We finish it up with around noonish. We start with a group discussion, question and answer discussion, pretty much on the whole day's the conference events, classes or anything, questions you might have on the work that we did, rituals, things of that nature. So again, that's October 27th to the 30th. You can mark that down on your calendar. We will definitely it's in stone. So we keep it that same time every year, as I've been saying, and I will continue to inform you. This way you can plan for the event. I know especially for people coming from out of state, you have to buy plane tickets, find a hotel, or we always recommend Airbnb for the event. There's a lot of good Airbnbs in this area down here. That's probably your best route to go. And some people get together and they link up and they share whatever, do whatever you need to do. So mark that down, October 27th to the 30th. Journey of the Black Adept Conference number 5, right? Hopefully we see some new people there this year. It will also be offered virtually, like we've done the last 2 years. As far as the classes and the workshops, the rituals, unfortunately, no. I don't do those. Those are more, I keep those really for those that were there for the experience. That's the only rituals I don't really record. But you'll have access to all the days, workshops, classes. So there'll be information for that. So mark that down. And then the last but not least, if you're interested in a spiritual reading, send me an email. I'll send you a full price list of readings that I do offer and consultations. Clepothic demonic readings, Santa Muerte and Spirit of the Dead readings, Egyptian oracle readings, shadow work readings, which I always strongly suggest is a great place to start, or a general Clepothic demonic reading, just to see kind of what comes up, what kind of spirits and energy is around you, what you're dealing with. Those are good places to begin, because people always ask, where do I begin? What should I be doing? We're going to talk a little bit about that in Occult Science 101. That's why I called this video that, because we're going to go over some of that stuff. So send me, if you're interested in a reading, spiritual reading or a consultation, send me an email. I'll send you a full list with prices, khnum19@gmail.com. All right. So, and then of course, last but not least, Patreon. Check out the Patreon page that I mentioned earlier. I know some of you here and some of you that subscribe to the channel are members of the Patreon page, patreon.com/Baniti, B-A-N-I. Patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. I highly recommend tier number 3, which gives you access to all the classes and rituals, even the previous classes, all the ones that are archived before you even joined, the current ongoing ones, plus the future ones. And there's also mentorship programs on there. But I said, do not sign up for the mentorship program if you don't have the time and energy to invest in it, because it is work. And I'm not just talking about financial investment. I'm talking about investing your time and your energy. You must be consistent in those programs. It's all on you. If you are that serious individual that wants to take, your spiritual path to the next level, and it's not, again, the mentorship program is not me. I'm not trying to show you how to see spirituality and magic through my eyes. That's not what it's about. It's about helping you develop your own personal path of self-mastery. You'll understand that. And I know those that are in the program do understand that. So please, I don't want to waste your time, and I don't want you to waste my time. So when I say investment outside of the monthly fee for it, I'm not talking about that. To me, as we get older, our time is precious. Time is critical as far as how we utilize it. What I'm saying, I'm not talking about illusionary time, linear time, and all that bullshit. I'm talking about the energy as far as what people call time that we put in and give attention to in our lives. That becomes much more critical as you advance on this path. So that's why I say that. All right. Having said that, I'm going to go through a couple things real quick. I ain't going through no books and none of that stuff today. I know sometimes I'll take a little excerpts. We're just going to kind of flow today. I'll go through the chat. I'll take your questions. Just be patient. I'll look at some of your comments that do apply. Dickheads will be kicked out, though we don't really have too many problems with that. It's very rare. But well, as long as it's relevant to what we're talking about. But we'll go from there in a minute. So kind of what I wanted to run through real quick. Well, just to go through. You see Occult Science 101. Why did I title that? Well, real simple. I titled that because let's go through some of the, as they say that term 101, essentials. I don't even want to say basics because sometimes that limits the importance of certain things. So I'm going to say 101 essentials, right? I might even change the title and add essentials on there. Occult Science 101 essentials. Maybe we'll do that. We'll change the title. Let's run through that. Because as I've said, as you noticed the last couple years, I started, if you remember, going back to like end of 18, going into 19. Before all this pandemic stuff came about, before all this craziness that we see going on, and as we see all the changes that's happening globally, whether it's politics or politricks, I should say, whether it's the economy, the pandemic, all of this shit, it's all part of that global reset that I was talking about a few years back. And that I was talking about when, if you go back to videos when the pandemic first hit, right? I don't want to get into the pandemic shit because it's just draining and I don't want to give them attention and give energy to it. I will have to maybe mention to it and allude it to what I'm talking about. I don't want to get into no pandemic stuff because it's tiring and it's like beating a dead fucking horse. So we're not going to really too much focus on that. But as I was saying back then in 2020, this is all part of a big global reset. This is all part of a serious change, a global change. We're seeing it now manifest over the last year and some change if you're really paying attention. And I was going back even before, when you go back to about end of 18 going into 19, I was telling people you need to release some of the old paradigms that people are stuck to. You cannot come on this path, whether you call it the occult, the path to self-mastery, it's really all connected and it's the same to a degree. The word occult, as we know, is just the simple explanation for that is the Greek word. It just means hidden. And there's a trick in that word. And that's why I wanted to use that title in this video, because something is only hidden if you don't know about it. See, don't let people play that game on you, the occult, right? Because you hear that shit and it's only hidden or new if you don't know. So there's a lot of information that's been around for years, per se, that people come across later down the road. They think it's new. It's only new because they have never heard it before. There's an old adage that you'll hear in mysticism, metaphysics, and spirituality. There's nothing new above and beyond the sun. It's not that it's new. People that lay claim sometimes to coming out with new shit, it's not that it's new. They're uncovering stuff that has always existed. As I said, the biggest game or hustle some people run that pretend to have this deep hidden knowledge is to create the illusion that they know something you don't. You understand? So if I can convince you of that, I can then now come at you with an angle in a game that I know something you don't, and maybe I'm trying to hustle you with something. I'm trying to sell you something because you think, well, you've been convinced that there's some secret information you don't have. This usually is the tactic used by a lot of groups and organizations that profess if you join, you're going to get some great mystical secret. And usually you find out, if you have any experience with some of these groups, you might learn some stuff, but you're not really getting anything secretive that's going to really transform your life. There's so many misconceptions about, let's say, fraternal esoterical orders such as Masonry, Order Templi Orientis, the Rosicrucian Order, you name it, the list goes on and on. There's a lot of misconceptions. There's a lot of good principles because I belong to all three of the aforementioned and others. But I want to make sure people don't get trapped in the illusion, okay, that you're going to get this big, like you're going to pay the freight, which is the membership. You can't buy your way into sovereignty and spirituality. I don't care what you're joining, what tradition, spiritual system you go into and pay for to get initiated. That's another illusion. I want to talk about that because that's Occult Science 101. The illusion of initiation. And as I said before in the path, from experience, a lot of people they're more infatuated with getting initiated than really understanding the process, okay? And that becomes a problem because I can't even tell you over the years how many emails I get. Oh, I want to get initiated in Palo. That's none of my business. Do you think I should? I'm not going to tell you you should or you should not. I want to get crowned and initiated in Ifa. Okay. I'm not going to tell you to or to not. You need to come to that conclusion. But I do tell people who claim to be on this path, you must understand, as I've mentioned many times before, and we talk about this in depth in the African witchcraft and sorcery class, you must understand there's an obligation. When you belong to a traditional house, you must follow the rules and regulations. You can't just do what you want and think you're going to pick and choose. It doesn't work like that. I've said that many times before. So you must understand the obligation and the responsibility that comes along with it. This is why I say people don't understand the full of things in regards to that. They're more infatuated with the whole idea just to get initiated, to say I've been initiated. Okay? So we need to understand that. We need to be clear on that. All right? So some of the essentials, Occult Science 101. How does one come on this path? What steps should they take? And how should one prepare themselves? Well, step one, okay? As I said a few minutes ago, you must let go of and put behind you all of the old paradigms, dogmas, spiritual systems, religions, when you start to accelerate on the path, because they're going to become a blockage to you if you have not put them in the context they need to be in. All right. The problem that I see, and this is just from my experience, it's an opinion. You don't have to agree with it. I really couldn't care if you do or you don't. That's irrelevant. That's personal. I find a lot of people come on this path and they still mixing a lot of old shit, old religions and spiritual systems that don't really have anything to do with this path. It poses a problem because it creates a misconception and illusion of what the path of self-mastery, or quote unquote, the occult is about. I see a lot of people taking Ifa, Santeria, Christianity, Judaism, and they mix it with the occult, okay? Now, it's one thing if you're breaking down information and knowledge to give an understanding of something. That's one thing. But I see people combining spiritual work with all of those areas, and you need to be careful with that because each one of those paths carry a certain energy. Each one of those paths, you are connecting with a certain spiritual frequency and vibration, and sometimes it's not conducive to if you're doing, let's per se, darker or more intense work. But the more important thing, mentally, it can create more confusion than it actually can help. So it's important to have a foundation when you enter the path. So how do you do that, right? So let me give an example, all right? Let's just say, or somebody comes on this path and they used to be a Muslim or one of any of the previous monotheistic religions. I don't care which one it is. Let's just say that, or even a Buddhist, right? Whatever. And they'll come on this path and they'll mix some of the stuff that they were doing in those traditions and incorporate it in some of the work that they're doing here. And sometimes it don't mix. And they'll be all over the place. And then you'll get always feedback from them. There's a lot of confusion. They're not getting results. They're having issues in this area and that area. And then when you ask some questions, and I'm telling you this from experience and working with people over the years, you find out some of the practices that they're doing. And then it's quite clear what's causing the issues, the blockages, the problems, the lack of results. Okay. Now, I know there's probably going to be some people maybe watching or watch the upload say, well, I do this and that, and I mix this and that, and I get results. Well, you're probably of the very small percentile. We're not speaking to the small percentile. Okay, so I'm speaking more as a whole. As a whole, that shit don't work. Trust me when I tell you. Okay, and I could guarantee you more or not, the people that do or are all over the place without a foundation, yeah, they might get periodically or get results in shifts and periods, but I guarantee you long term, you're not going to find too many people that get long-term results without a foundation being all over the place. All right, this is a huge problem. Now, look, we're all grown adults. You're free to choose and do what you want and how you want to do it. So that's entirely up to you. Okay. So you do that how you see fit. So remember, this channel and this platform is not about telling you what to do and how to do it, but also I'm not going to hold back as far as explaining things and speaking on them. And you don't have to agree with it. You're entitled to that. And also I'm entitled to speak it, even if you don't agree it. That's how that works. That's a Luciferian concept, right? We can agree to disagree. So a foundation is important. So you must come on and have focus. So this is why I say some of the key, and I'm kind of giving you a basic summarization of how the Red Magus mentorship program works on Patreon. This is how I actually work with students and teach them. And we start with some of the essentials, such as connecting with your bloodline and spiritual ancestors, not from a traditional perspective. These are the foundations and the essentials, not that traditional shit. We don't pour liquor out for all of our ancestors because some of your ancestors were winos. So why would you pour liquor out for all your ancestors, right? Because now you are inviting some in the bloodline that are alcoholics, and you're giving them you're furthering their problem. People don't look at it like that. We also will show you not all your ancestors are beneficial. Okay, they're not all here for you in a positive way that you think how some of these other traditions promote. Okay, because unfortunately, some of us have ancestors that we don't know about that were killers, criminals, and all other types of shit that we're just not aware of. So when you're working and connecting with your spiritual bloodline ancestors, you must be conscious and aware of that. So working with your ancestors from a more occult left-hand path perspective is being very aware. And we're very selective. And in our addressing and connecting and invoking our ancestors, we're very, very detailed on how we do that. We don't just pour liquor out, libations for all of them, okay? Because we keep that in mind. What if you have an uncle that was a third generation wino? Why would you pour liquor out for him? See? So from a non-traditional perspective, we show you how to work with that. Demonic integration, which follows right behind that. Connecting and accessing the higher self. That's Occult Science 101. And to connect and access the higher self, you must remove all systems of indoctrination which connect to your shadow work, right? We're going to talk about that in a second. So you must be shown the proper way. Let me back up to the ancestors again, because I know that's a topic that's been huge over the years. Some of it very fucking religious, I must say. And let me add and address this. What are we eating, man? What is it?
Pork chops. I did baked potatoes for you.
Okay. Thank you. Just checking on the menu for later. My bad. So let's talk about the ancestors first, because as I said before, and let me reiterate this again, don't let nobody tell you they're getting downloads of your ancestors. That's a bunch of bullshit. As you know, I can't stand when I hear people say that. There's so many people, the ancestors gave me a download. Okay. When people say that, be specific in asking them what ancestors spoke to you specifically. And if they can't name them by detail and they're using a generalization, more than likely they had a subjective experience and they probably communicated with some form of their ancestors, but that cannot be utilized to speak for everybody as a whole. That's that spooky space cadet bullshit. Okay, so let's address that. I teach people to have their own personal experiences, how they can connect for themselves, not having to follow anybody, not having to sign up for any group or organization or become a part of any club that has some fucking leader. You know, we've had enough of the Dr. Yorks and the Yahweh Ben Yahwehs and the Martin Applewhites and the David Koreshes and all the other fucking kooks over the years that have come along. We got to stop following people. Stop being a follower. Okay? Stop. That's also a requirement to being on the path to self-mastery. Stop putting your salvation in the hands of somebody else and do something for yourself. Nobody can do it for you. I don't give a fuck how long you've been studying up under somebody, okay? I don't care how long. Look, I've been a Mason for over 20 years. It doesn't mean shit. I've been an Order Templi Orientis for over 12 years. It doesnn't mean shit. I've been a Rosicrucian for over 15 to 16 years. It doesn't mean shit. It's just an experience. I don't rely on that. I've studied under many great people over the years who some turned out to be fucked up later, but it doesn't mean shit. All to come to the conclusion and the reality, I realized at a point in time, I didn't need any of that, okay? It doesn't mean, as I've said many times before, you can't have teachers and elders and have guidance, but at the end of the day, as I said, it comes to the point where the student must let go of the teacher's hand. At what point do you do that? When do you become the master and stop following people, right? Bow down to nothing or no one. To become a god or a goddess, you must never bow and surrender your divinity to anybody. We do not bow and surrender our divinity to nobody, period. That's step one. You must understand that. So if you're still in that state of mind where I still see people who claim to be on the occult and they're praying in front of Shango statues and they're praying in front of Oshun images, and that's fucking religion. First of all, we don't pray on this path, okay? Not in the form of monotheistic religious prayer. There's a confusion with that. Invocation can be confused for prayer. These are all Occult Essential 101. This is all Occult Essential 101. We do not pray. I always get this. Do you guys pray? Not in the traditional form, the way religious people pray. Absolutely not. Because the question is, who and what are you praying to? Because you got to be careful how you answer that, because you can open yourself up to some serious questioning that you may not be ready for. The average Christian walks into a church, gets into the pew, kneels down, puts their hands together, and they look up to the sky. In their mind, they've been convinced there's this old man figure, the long white beard sitting on the throne, whatever. They have this invisible God that they've been programmed to connect with. That prayer we do not do, okay? Now, invocation can be confused almost for prayer, but the difference in invocation is you are invoking and accessing the energy to embody and connect with the spirit. It's a little different, all right? Much different than dear Heavenly Father that exists somewhere out in the fucking sky, please magically wave your fucking wand and fix all my problems. It doesn't work like that. So that form of prayer we don't do. Now, I know there's some occultists, some left-hand path people that work with Lucifer and Satan, and they look at Satan and Lucifer literally, and some will even probably be in opposition to what I'm saying. They actually make prayer like a Christian would. Now, you're entitled to that. That's your choice. I'm also entitled not to agree with it. Now, I don't say if you were doing that and it's working for you because in your mind you have created some level of results and success, then power to you. But you also must understand not everybody has that same approach. That's all I'm saying. Now, when it comes to deity, it's also Occult Science 101. The question always comes up, are deities literal? Are demons and spirits literal? Are they just internal? Are they just external? Right? There's been some confusion over this over the years because a lot of the information I've taught on the 7 Hermetic principles, all is mental is all, the universe is mental, people were under the illusion because they don't understand what that means. So they say, well, are all the spirits and the gods and the demons and the archetypes, are they just internal? The answer is yes and no. And let me explain. Okay, and I've explained this many times over the years, over many different videos you can go back and find. Now, again, don't get it's scattered. I couldn't tell you exactly what video, but I've talked about this many times. Some of you know this, okay? It starts first in the mind, okay? Because let me give you an example. Obviously, when you do ritual work, invocations and rituals, everybody has or comes to a point where they have a subjective or an external experience, right? So you might be doing a ritual with, let's say, Belial. And in that ritual, in your meditation or doing a path working or a visualization, you manifest this image or manifestation of Belial. How did that happen? How did that come about? Okay. Well, here's how you got to understand the mind. Let me tell you something. The mind, the conscious and the subconscious mind, and the mind in general, it's a motherfucker. It's a very delicate, intricate, mechanical mechanism that if you don't understand how it works, it can be very complex and confusion. Okay? Confusion. All right? So let's just say you came on this path and you didn't know anything about, let's say, Belial. Let's just say you started maybe a year ago. Okay? All right, see, this is what we do to idiots. Don't worry about it. We don't want nobody. We just take them out the room. That's all. We don't have time. That's what I was talking about earlier. And then we just hide them. We don't need them on here. So let's just say you started reading about, you never were aware of, we'll use Belial in this case. All right. And you just started reading books on him. You started looking upon the different illustrations and images you might see of Belial. Now, what you're doing, whether you're conscious of it or not, you are storing this in what we call the subconscious mind. As I've said many times before, the subconscious mind is like the hard drive of a computer. The same way you put information on a hard drive and store it in a computer, you're doing the same thing with your subconscious mind. So the more information you read and gather on Belial per se, in this case, we're using that as the example, the more images you gaze your eyes upon, and your eyes literally scans it like a scanner and stores that imagery in your subconscious mind, you are creating the deity of how you are going to see it manifest. So this is why you might do a ritual and in a meditation, you have an accurate description. Well, I saw Belial and he looked just like this and he was wearing this and he had this in his hand. You built and created all that based on the experiences you absorbed through information, knowledge, imagery. So literally, this is why I always refer to the first Hermetic mental. Mental is all, the universe is mental. It all starts in the mind. You had to access that first via the mind before you can manifest it externally. So yes, it still always starts within. Is there an external aspect to it in your subjective experiences via your ritual work, your meditations, your visualizations, your astral travels, whatever you want? Yes, of course there is. I've said many times before there is. So we must understand how to approach deity and spirit, what it is, and how to connect and work with it. That's an Occult 101 essential. Okay? That's an Occult 101 essential. Right? The problem I find, people still use the religious approach, okay, when they come on this path. Because as I said before, they'll pray to Ifa deities the same way Christians do. They'll pray to demons and spirits the same way a Christian does, as if it's just all external. That's the problem. When you think it's all external outside of yourself, you can never fully make the connection 100%. And this is why we say this path is an inward journey out, not an outward journey in. Because most religions teach you, look out there first, and you're supposed to go somewhere out there to bring it in, right? Because it's man worship, right? In all those religions, there's always a holy book you must follow. There's always a prophet, a man, that was set 90% of the time. Actually, the only female prophet was Ruth, right? A man all the time you must follow, and he's coming with a message. And then there's a place. It's always person, place, and thing worship. And then not only that, not only is there an almighty God, but God has a physical son that he sent to the earth to save you, okay? Which is some punk coward shit because he couldn't come and do it himself. I don't know who would voluntarily sacrifice their son. As I said before, if you were laying in your house and your house was broken into, you're not going to tell your only son or one of your sons to go check the front door. You're going to do that shit yourself. So there's nothing admirable about some punk story of some coward sacrificing his son when, quote unquote, technically it didn't have to be done. That's a whole nother story. We just did a whole class on the crucifixion, right? We just did a whole class on that in the occult Bible study, class number 5 or 4, whichever one we up to now. Dispelling all that myth. You must leave all that shit alone. This is not an outward journey in, it's an inward journey out. So this is what I mean when I say it's all internal. You must start on the inside first. If you do not understand yourself, there's no way you can understand spirits and demons and gods and goddesses or archetypes, right? There's a saying for all the religious folks, and it's in one of the letters of John. I can't remember, not the Gospel of John, one of the letters of John. And it's not really coming to me clear, but you guys are familiar with it. There's a saying that says, how can you love God who you have never seen, but you don't even love your brother who you see every day? Think about that shit for a minute. There's so many people profess to love this spooky, mystical, invisible God that they can't prove exists, but we as human beings, men and women, brother, sister, we can't even get along, and we see each other every day. So there's no fucking way in the world that could be possible. Okay? So step 1, cult essential, one-on-one, that's essential. You must love yourself first. You must understand who and what you are, your strengths, your weaknesses, your goods, your bads, your ups and your downs. Until you understand that, you cannot love the Creator. You cannot love others if you do not love yourself, no matter how fucked up you might be. And how do you do that, people? Shadow work. That's what real shadow work is about. Not this superficial internet, new age, psychobabble bullshit that's out there now. I show people how to really deal with real life issues, real shit, real time now. I'm talking about what you got going on in your life now. Are you struggling with your anger? Are you struggling with emotions such as jealousy, rage, patience? Do you have addictions? And addictions are not limited to drugs. They could be sex addictions, food addictions, and drug addictions, right? Are you struggling to be a good parent to your child, right? Maybe you're struggling with parenthood. Maybe you're dealing with psychological traumas that you gathered through your your upbringing. You might have been sexually, physically, and verbally abused growing up. And some people don't realize the psychological effect of a parent. Some of us, as I said before in the past, we were grown up told that when you tell a young child you ain't going to be shit, that is psychologically damaging to a child, and that stays with you. There's some people who've shut down, become introverted because that's all they ever heard their whole life. You ain't going to be shit. You ain't going to amount to nothing. You useless. Because the person usually saying that, they were told that, and it's a cycle that's never broken. Shadow work breaks that cycle when you address it. That's real shadow work, okay? Not this bullshit that you see out. It's bullshit out here, I'm telling you. And I'm going to call it for what it is. I don't give a fuck if nobody likes it. That's you're entitled to it. But I'm going to show you how to do real, tangible, hands-on shadow work. That is an occult essential one-on-one to master yourself. You can't bypass it. You can't come on this path and start doing all this dark, intense work, but you got psychological problems, mental problems, personal problems, family problems, relationship problems. You just want to skip all that. Let me just throw that out the window. Let me just bypass all that. My mom ain't going to worry about that. And let me go do a ritual with Kali. You're a damn fool. You are a damn fool. Because what you are going to do, you are going to open up, as they say, Pandora's box. And an explosion is going to take place that you're not ready to deal with. You might think you are, because I've seen it all before. I've seen them all come tough. I've seen them all come hard. Trust me, I've seen it all. And it never ceases to amaze me, the crazy shit I see. Never ceases to amaze me. But when them spirits come with that fire and they kick that ass in, it changes the whole ball game, changes it upside down. So you must have a foundation. What is the foundation? Shadow work, connecting with your ancestors the correct way. There's a process I show people how to do it. As I said before, not that traditional shit, right? And that's all I can say. It's the best thing I can say, gas face, right? There's a lot more to the shit. Demonic integration, because once you have started to strip away the illusionary self and connect with your personal daemon, your higher and your true or real self, right? Then you could strip, the veil has been lifted, and now you see what's really standing there before you. You can look at yourself and be real and go, these are my strengths. These are my strong points. This is what I'm good at. This is what I'm strong at. I'm going to build upon this and make those points even more powerful. But then you got to be the real part, the tough part. Then you look at the other angle and you go, man, this is what's fucked up about me. I got to work on this. This shit is hurting me. It's destroying me. It's preventing my growth. Do you have certain habits and characteristics and behaviors that's holding you back? All of the aforementioned things. Are you dealing with psychological traumas that you inherited in your childhood and upbringing? The aforementioned verbal abuse, mental abuse, sexual abuse. Right? We can't act like that shit doesn't we can't act like that shit doesn't exist. Why do people want to just pretend that's going to go away? You listen, you could light all the candles in the world. You can say all the invocations you want and do all the rituals you want. That shit's not going to go away if you don't deal with it head on. I don't care what anybody tells you. You can go get somebody to do some ritual work for you. You could do the ritual work yourself. You can be foolish and think you're going to get initiated, and the initiation's just going to make it all evaporate. I've watched people get initiated, and it made shit 10 times worse than it was prior to before they got initiated, especially Paulo. Listen, people, I told you guys in the beginning of the year, this is why I try to come on here when I can. I'm not on here like some of these other people on here all week, 2-3 times a day, 7, 8, 9, 10 times a week. That's a red flag, because that shows me those motherfuckers ain't doing shit. If you on this motherfucker all the time, that means you ain't really doing any real work. If you claim to be some type of, occultist or spiritualist or whatever the fuck path you claim to be on, I don't have the time to come on. I might come on here a few times a month, max, because there's work to be done. This is work. Don't let nobody fool you. I didn't get to where I am at, and it took overnight. This has been years of work. I'm going to show you the real to this shit. You can light as many candles as you want, do as many rituals as you want. If you don't deal with your shit, it's not going to change anything. Trust me when I tell you. This is why these are the people that always go, man, I'm doing this work with such and such, and it's not working. I'm not getting any results. And then as I find out and I talk to them deeper, get more information, I find out they ain't doing no shadow work. They have no knowledge of correct ancestral work. They don't know what it's like to access the higher or the real self, aka the personal daemon, just another term for it. Some call it the holy guardian angel, whatever you want to call it. It's irrelevant. The title doesn't mean nothing to me. We know what it's talking about. We must apply the work. So you could sit and read 400 books. You can say, I did this, I did that. But if you do not have the results to support it, then what is it you are doing? I always say this. Here's a way to gauge. All right. Here's a way to gauge. I like this comment. I'm going to open that one up. Here's a gauge. People always say this. How do I know I'm getting results? It's a very simple method to find out. It's super simple. It's not complicated. All right. I want everybody, we can participate in this real quick. You don't have to type in. I'm just putting this out there. Ask yourself where you are right now. Look at yourself for a quick moment. This is a little form of shadow work, right? I'm going to show you how shadow work is real, doing real shit, real work. All right. And here's an example. Everybody that's watching now, or maybe you're not really on this path, you're just watching because you're interested. But let's say somebody who says they are a practitioner on this path. If that's you, I'm talking to you right now. Look at yourself at the current moment, at this very moment as I'm talking right now. And quickly for a minute, pause and see where you are. Reflect for a moment of where you are on your spiritual path right now, right? Get that thought in your head for a couple seconds. Where you're at right now. Just a quick synopsis. You feel like you're rolling. You feel like you're in a good space right now. Do you feel like you have a good understanding of what you're doing? Are you connected to the spirits, etc.? Quick. Get them thoughts together for a minute. Let it marinate. Okay. All right. I know that wasn't a minute, but for the sake of time, you get my point. Now I want you to reflect back on 2 points, right? This is how you do this. I want you to reflect back on where you came from. Go back to maybe as far as you can remember as a child when you got connected to spirituality. I don't care if it was a religion, Christianity is. I don't care if it was at some point you were introduced to some level of consciousness or spirituality. All right. So I want you to think of that point for a quick moment of where you came from. Then I want to think if you came on this path, I want you to now quickly jump to where you left. And when you go back to that point of where you came from and where you left, do you see a tremendous improvement of change on all levels, spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and financially? That's what I teach, the 5 points of the pentagram, or the 5 points of self-mastery. Let me say it again. Do you see consistent? I'm not saying everything's going to be perfect because there's no such fucking thing. We wouldn't be having this conversation. Do you have things flowing in a reasonable amount of harmony? And do you see results consistently in the areas of spiritually, mentally, emotionally, physically, and oh yes, financially? Okay, let's not exclude that one, because I'm so tired of all these spiritual paths acting as if being broke is a virtue. It's not. It's a sign of failure. Don't let nobody shit you. Don't let nobody bullshit. Anybody that tells you don't be in the world and all that spiritual mumbo jumbo hocus pocus shit, 9 out of 10 times it's usually because they're failures. And they're not successful in business, they're not successful with money, and they're not successful with finances. So I don't buy that horse shit. Anybody that sells me that, I tell them to get the fuck away from me, because that breeds failures. I don't want to be around unsuccessful failure type people, right? Because just like there's people who walk this planet now who preach that bullshit, but they're living the life of luxury. So we teach on this path, we deal with the now. We want our shit now, not later. See, on this path, you take what's yours now. You build to be successful now. We're not waiting till later, pie in the sky, some great reward that all these religions and dogmas promote, that you're going to have some great reward for being poor, broke, and a servant and a slave and a follower. But don't worry, later down the road, there's a reward for you. Fuck that. We don't deal with that bullshit. Okay? That's not what we work with. Okay? So if you don't see those consistent results, if you could not answer honestly on all 5 of those points, you need to go back and see what it is you're doing wrong, right? You have to, because I'm sure all of us need work in some of those areas. I'm sure nobody's obsolete of it. Nobody can go, oh, I got it all. I'm 100% in line. That's just not true. That's the first lie. Be real with yourself. Anybody that says they ain't got nothing wrong with them, that's the first lie. So right there, we see you got a problem. You ain't being real with yourself and you're full of shit. And there's only one person in this whole entire metaverses and multiverses that you can't lie to, and that's yourself. Okay? Yeah, you can bullshit other people. As I said before, people got the look down pat. You can put on all the spiritual attire. You can put on all the talismans and jewelry, and you can have the whole look and the lingo down and know all the catchphrases. Yeah, you can bullshit and deceive people. It's like, oh, that brother or that sister, they're very spiritual. Look at them. They look spiritual. I heard people say, what the fuck does that mean? How does somebody look spiritual? Right? Well, what does that mean? That looks can be deceiving. Okay? But the only person you can't deceive is yourself. Okay? Never forget that. Because once you understand that principle, you'll stop being a follower. You'll stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. I'm not interested in what the next person is doing. I don't spend time sitting around wondering what this person or that person's doing, if they're succeeding and failing, because that energy and that time I'm wasting on that, I could be focusing on myself. I'm not worried or concerned with that. That's the other problem with people. They too much into everybody else's goddamn business. Stop worrying about what everybody else is doing and worry about yourself. That's why I have no respect for people that put all their business on Front Street. You got people all over social media, Instagram, Facebook, using it as a platform for all their dirty laundry and dirt because they don't know how to keep their fucking mouths shut. And all you are doing is giving an open book, an invitation to people so they can understand every aspect about yourself. Okay? And sometimes you might be giving out too much information that's not necessary. And that can be used against you. Okay? So we gotta worry about what we are doing. Stop worrying about what everybody else is doing. Anytime I hear that conversation, if you know me and you've come to me with that in the past, you know my response to you. I don't give a fuck. I'm not worried about what such and such is doing or what she's doing or what he's doing or what they're doing. Only thing I'm worried about is what is Baniti doing? Is Baniti using his time productively? Am I doing the best that I can possibly do for myself and for my family and for my life overall? Those come first. Everything else outside, I don't give a fuck. I don't care what Joe Blow's doing down the block. I don't care what car Joe Blow is driving or what kind of house. I know my shit I live in is fire, and I know I drive nice cars. That's all I care about. I'm not worried about keeping up with what such and such. Of course, there's going to be other people that got better shit than you, but who cares? I'm not worried about that stuff. Okay? Because I know in the end, it's all irrelevant. When I say the end, I'm not talking about the end of time. I'm saying in the end, or at the end of the day, as you hear that catchphrase, it doesn't really matter. You understand? The only thing that really matters is what you are doing, or I should say, what you are not doing, right? Because that matters too, because they're connected, okay? You got to look at yourself and go, look, the time I could be wasting, and another occult essential 101, let's talk about that, managing your time. I talk about this all the time. Managing your time. We got to hit this one. I don't want to forget because this is all part of it. We talked about demonic integration, shadow work, connecting with your ancestor, all key foundational essentials that you must have in order to have step one, a foundation. So you don't just leave Christianity and come on this path and let me start working with Kali. Are you out of your fucking mind? And please, listen, don't come to me with all the sexual stuff. Right? All the superficial women, well, yeah, I work with Kali. And Kali told me I have a 14-karat gold pussy. And now that I work with Kali, or any men that anytime I walk outside, men are just falling at my feet. Man, listen. That's exactly how I know you're not working with Kali. Okay? Because I'm not hearing anything about change. Okay? I'm not hearing anything about transformation. I'm not hearing anything about growth. I'm not hearing about any of the trials and tribulations of the change you had to go through to get to where you needed to be. I don't want to hear about your magical 14-karat gold pussy. Because guess what? In the dark, they're all the fucking same anyway. Okay? As you get older, you'll understand that later. Okay? So I don't want to hurt nobody's feelings. Okay? But let's stop with the bullshit. Okay? Kali is so much more than that. Lilith is so much more than that. Oshun is so much more than that. When you understand what they really represent outside. Is there that energy there? Of course, that energy is there. I'm not saying it's not. But is it the only energy that's there? Absolutely not. It's the biggest mistake I see with everybody that tries to build on it. And it causes a lot of misinformation. All right? So time, let's talk about that. Another huge problem, and I talk about this in the shadow work class. I've talked about this over the years, okay? This is a huge problem for people. One of the key reasons why people do not get results practicing magic, working the path of the occult, working the path of self-mastery, they do not know how to manage their time, right? Sometimes there are a bunch of bad habits that they've inherited along the way. So let me give you an example. I get this is the most famous excuse in line I get from so many different people. Okay? I'm so busy. I'm working 2 and 3 jobs. I'm running a business. I work for a company 50, 60, 65 hours a week. I have a family. I have kids. I'm raising kids. I'm tired. All I got to say to that is boo-hoo-hoo. Boo-hoo-hoo. Join the club. It's called life. I don't give a fuck about any of that because you said everything that I'm dealing with, so I don't care. This is the wrong person to come to with that shit. Don't tell that to a person who's up every day at 4:30 a.m. in the morning. just so I can have enough of time to do what I want to do. Yes, I have children, plural. Yes, I run a business and work a job and have a career. So you're preaching to the choir. That's not an excuse. That's not an excuse. Sometimes I have 12, 14-hour days. I still find time to get done what I need to do spiritually for myself. There's no such excuse as not having time. That's step one. Because I guarantee you, if you really look and evaluate and see how you're managing your time, let me tell you how it goes down for some people. All right, let me show you. There's something in here, and I can tell you because I can feel it. Be at work. Yeah, when I get home, like, let me tell you, I'm going to go through it. Watch. Some of you guys be at work talking about, yeah, when I get home tonight, I'm going to do that ritual with Lucifer. And you're mapping it out in your head. You got the whole thing mapped out. You're visualizing it. You're going to get home. You're going to do it. And then you're driving home. And then all of a sudden, the day kicks in. Yeah, I'm going to get something to eat. You get home. You eat. I'm going to sit down. I'm going to turn the TV on. I'm telling you, because this has happened to me. You sit down, you turn the TV on. You go, nah, I'm just going to watch this one show. One show is over. Then you go, I'm going to watch just one more show. That show's over. Next 20 minutes, you're snoring with the remote in your hand, talking about, I'll get to it tomorrow. That happens to me. And I've literally had to say the next day, no, I'll come in. I'm not even going to bother with it. Do what I got to do. Get right into it. Because if you don't seize control of managing your time, when it comes to spiritual work, you will never get anything done. Okay? You will never get it done. You will keep finding a reason not to do it. How do you get out of that habit or that practice or that paradigm, for a lack of a better word? By establishing consistent personal practices, right? I'm not talking about to the point, all right, we can say like in religion, right? They have daily or weekly service times. So, yes, some funny comment. I'm going to go to that in a minute. Even though those practices might be religious and indoctrinating in nature, but one thing they are with their indoctrination is their consistency, okay? Regardless whether you agree with it or not, you for yourself must establish your own personal practices that work for you, because it doesn't matter if you work a day job, a night job, an overnight job. None of it is validation for an excuse of why you can't do it. Because anytime I hear from a person, I'm too busy, I don't have the time, I already know mentally and what type of character that person has right out the gate. They're going to be a person who's not very successful. I'm not talking about they ain't going to have moments of success, periods of success, or successful at certain things. I'm talking about that's a person who will not be consistently successful on this path. Okay? This is important to understand. So managing your time is another Occult Essential 101. So ask yourself, am I productive with my time? Here's a way. Here's a simple shadow work. And these are the type of things, we go a little bit more detailed, obviously, in the shadow work class, but this is what shadow work is about. So here, I'm going to give you a little example of how you can do this. And you could start it tomorrow, because tomorrow is Monday, right? Start it today. Just log for 7 days what you do over a 7-day period. And how you do it is at the end of the day. So when it gets too close to the time before you go to bed, write down what you did that day. Make a list. Let's just say you started on a Sunday. Do that Sunday, Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday, Friday, and Saturday. Each day from the moment I got up, I ate breakfast, I went to the gym, I exercised, I sat and watched TV and Netflix all fucking day. I ate again, I took a shit. And then you look, and that's all you did that day. You just watched Netflix, you ate, you took a shit. You didn't do anything else. That was a wasted day. You didn't get nothing done. Do that for the next 6 days. If there's nothing in there of consistent spiritual practices, going to your altar, meditating, doing something productive, exercising. So look at that 7-day list and go, damn, Sunday, Netflix. Monday, I just sat around, didn't do shit, watched TV all fucking day. Wednesday, watched sports from morning to night, didn't do anything else. Thursday, literally slept the day, didn't do shit, right? The list goes on and on. Okay. So let's keep this in mind. If you look at that 7-day outlook and you don't see nothing consistent or productive there, then that's a sign for you. You need to reevaluate how you manage your time. It's that simple. It's not. See, we make shit more complex than it is. Like, especially when it comes to shadow work, people make this sound like it's so spooky and it's so heavy and it's so deep. No, it's just real shit. Okay. And until you're ready to do these things, right? I know you want to just come on the path and light candles and, hail Lucifer, the fucking Damien music and all that. Unfortunately, it just don't work like that. Anybody that promotes it as such don't know what the hell they're talking about. So there's another way. You must be productive and efficient with your time. That's what I meant earlier when I said time is precious. And I'm talking about the time that and the moments and the energy you spent on things. Okay? So if you look at that 7-day outlook and you go, damn, all I did was piss, shit, eat, watch Netflix. Next day I piss, shit, eat, sleep, watch Netflix, went to work, came home, eat, sleep, pee, shit. Don't sit there and then turn around and go, man, nothing's working. I ain't getting no results. Just because you got an altar set up doesn't mean shit's going to work for you. That don't mean shit. It just means you got an altar set up is what it means. I know motherfuckers that got extravagant altars, but they ain't doing a damn thing with it because they don't know what to do with it. So you might have a beautiful altar. You might have all this extravagant shit, but then I've seen the person that has something very simple, very basic. It's not extravagant. But because they're more consistent in the work that they do, I see them get greater results, 10 times better results. Remember, it's not about how extravagant, because, then you got these other motherfuckers that always got to throw in your face and let you know how occult and spiritual they are. You got the conscious blingers that they got to wear fucking 5-fingered mood rings and big ass fucking beaded necklaces and shit and ounce the size of clocks because they want to throw in your face of how spiritual and heavy they are. The conscious blingers, I like to call them, right? You have that group. And you're going to find most of them outside of the gab and the talk, they ain't doing no real work. They talk a good game, but they ain't doing no real work. Okay? So it doesn't matter how many altars you have. Doesn't matter how extravagant they are. Doesn't matter how simple they are. Because I've seen people with very basic altars. But here's the deep thing. You want to know the deep thing? And we were recently talking about this in one of the classes. I can't remember where this came up recently. At the end of the day, you don't really need any of them. The only altar you need is this right here. Because if you are a true magician, you could be in the middle of nowhere and you can manifest and create an altar just by visualizing in your mind and carry out the entire ritual in its entirety. So let me give you an example. And I've talked about this before. Your altars are very important. Let's talk about this. Occult Essential 101, right? You want some Occult 101, we're going to get it. Your altar should be very personal because my altars, as I've said before, have a geometrical setup to it. They're positioned a certain way. The objects and the way they're set up literally are for a certain reason. Directions, points, energy grids, flows, magnetic points, all of that ties in. But I also have a clear visualization where I could be in the middle of nowhere and I can just close my eyes and manifest my altar right in front of me. And I can perform a ritual to the very detail of tools, implements. It don't matter. I can manifest all that because it's like the groove on a hard drive. It's been encased. Every aspect of it has been encased there. So not only is it literally a physical place that you can go and tap into your personal spiritual energy, but it should be something that literally becomes a part of you. So even when you're not physically, literally in your altar room, you can carry that energy and manifest that energy wherever you are just by the simple fact of the power of the mind. Now, as I said this, one of the most important tools that you must perfect on this path is your meditation and visualization skills. A lot of people struggle with this, Occult 101, right? So I guess you thought this was going to be some basic shit. And that's why I didn't want to call it basic, because it's not. You must sharpen your meditation and your visualization skills. Because when you're doing path workings, when you are doing visualizations in your rituals, the more powerful that skill is, the more effective your rituals and your results are going to be. Okay. Listen, some people look, astral travel, dream work. I'm in the midst of finishing a 6-day working with the Greek goddess Selene. And there's 3 aspects to Selene that's very similar to Hecate. And if you understand those 3 aspects and the power of the moon and the lunar energy that it encapsulates, and I did a dream working last night with her sigil. I invoked the goddess. There was connection with the moon. And you have to learn how to carry that visualization. Literally, when you do a dream working, you either sleep in your chamber room or you take that straight to the bed with you. It could be the sigil. It could be the visualization. And you also have to learn, if you wake up and that's disturbed, how to tap right back into it. Because when you travel the astral is how you'll get your personal revelations and your connections with the spirit, right? And you're going to find out some people it comes quicker it's easier. Some people it becomes very difficult. They say they struggle with it. It's hard for them when it comes to visualization techniques. And my answer to that is keep at it. Keep practicing, because when you are really sharpening those visualization skills, you are opening up all facets of your subjective consciousness. Because in order to travel the subjective realms, you must have good visualization skills. Now, here's the game. The word imagination, I've said this, right? There's not a lot of fairy tale in that as it sounds. People say, oh, that person got a vivid imagination, right? A person with a vivid imagination, that's a fucking compliment. Vivid means to be very detailed, very clear, very intense. It's vivid. There's no gray lines. That's what we want, is vivid imaginations. Because if you have a vivid imagination, you are very clear in detail, and you have powerful visualization skills. Okay? But in the word imagination, as we know, the root word there is image. What is an image? Right? We know what an image is. It could be a picture. It could be an illustration. Something that comes into form and or we give an essence or a description to, something that has some type of body or form we can identify, an image, right? They can be physical. They can be spiritual, right? They could be in a solid, liquid, or gaseous state. That's a whole nother fucking story. But my whole point is, imagination is having the ability to conjure up vivid images. Do you understand that? So when somebody says, woo, you got a vivid imagination, say, thank you for the compliment. You must have a vivid imagination on this path. Because for those that claim to astral travel and deal and work with prana energy, right? Remember, when you vibrate and you travel outside of a 3-dimensional existence through astral travel, transcendental meditation, OBEs, out-of-body experiences, you are vibrating at a higher frequency that resonates beyond 3-dimensional existence, which is person, place, and thing. Once you are able to vibrate at that frequency, you are now open to what one would call the spiritual realm. I'm just using simple terms. Some of them terms I don't really like because they can sound a little spooky, but you know what I'm talking about. This is where we unlock the mysteries of immortality, of life and death. And this is why you always hear me say, it's funny, because I don't care if you read the Tibetan Book of the Dead, the Coming Forth by Day, or what they falsely call the Ancient Egyptian Book of the Dead, or any grimoires that talk about the afterlife. The only way you're going to get the answers is you having your own experience and raise yourself up to the realization of what death and life really is. Because the reality is, until you have that experience, nobody can really tell you what's going to happen. Are we all going to taste that physical death? Yes. But is that the end? Absolutely not. Does reincarnation exist? Most definitely. Some of us have been here many times before. I'm not telling you to accept that. I'm telling you to come to the realization of it via your spiritual experiences. Not because you read it in a book, not because somebody did a lecture or a class on it and it sounded good and you just accepted it. No, that's It's okay to engage in that, but don't let that be the foundation of you accepting it as a reality. But when you're able to have the ability through your ritual work and through your rituals and your astral travel and other spiritual experiences, you get the answers to those questions. And then this becomes a problem because then there's some people go, well, there's this term people like to use now called pseudo. Oh, what you're saying is pseudo information. Why? Because it's not in a book written by a man. Not everything spiritual has an explanation that's recorded somewhere in a book. If that's your approach, then this definitely isn't a path for you. Because if you need something, because there's always this other gimmick I see on all these conscious platforms. What's the source? Where's the source for that? What source did you get? What they're essentially saying is, what book did that come from? Now, here's the question. I don't care if you're quoting the first source on ancient Egypt. I don't care if you're quoting the first source on sorcery, black magic, whatever topic. At some point, whoever was the first was considered pseudo because nobody was accepting what they were saying until it became mainstream. When did it become mainstream? When an X amount of people accepted it as being fact. Because a lot of the people who claim they need a source for this and that, at one point, the same sources they're using were accepted as being pseudo themselves. See that game? So when it comes to spirituality and the spirit world, unfortunately, not everything is documented in a book or a source or an author. Okay? Because a lot of these books, sources and authors that people are quoting, at one point they were considered pseudo. Okay? You see the bullshit? So how do you work your way around all that and don't get involved in that nonsense? I'll tell you this. I'm just going to call it for what it is, right? You don't hear a lot of people talking about this path because you can't bullshit your way through this path. You see, you can get on these platforms and talk about Egypt and the Hebrew Israelites and the Hebrews, and you could debate all that religious stuff because that's a safe platform. Because, see, it's safe. You could stay there. It's easy. It's secure. You won't hear nobody really talk about this stuff because they don't know how to approach it. Because, see, you can't bullshit your way through this. Because all the tactics and the techniques they use, they don't have a method to combat this. Because it's very easy. And I know people watch this platform. Trust me when I tell you. Believe me. There's a lot of prominent people I know because I hear them saying certain things. But I'd be more than happy to discuss anything with anybody, as long as you don't take shit personal and your feelings don't get hurt. That's the problem. Okay? So how you work your way around that, have your own experience. I don't care because somebody gets up there and does a PowerPoint and pulls shit off of Google or out of somebody's book and it looks deep in 1778, such and such. And then below the Nile Valley, at one point, all Africa was called Alkebulan, and this translates to say, who gives a fuck? Because at the end of the day, is that putting money in your pocket? No. Is that making you a better person? Maybe to a degree, gives you a little bit of knowledge, but outside of that, no. Is that going to help fix all the bullshit we're dealing with right now that's going on in the world with politics, the so-called COVID bullshit, and all the other shit they're getting ready to do? No. I'm not interested in listening to a debate on who was first, Egypt or the Israel. Who gives a shit? Like, we should be past that right now. Okay? We should be past that right now. Okay? So long story short, you must have, back to the point, not to get sidetracked, another Occult 101 essential is you should have good meditation and visualization skills. Meditation is an art that we use all the time on this path, right? Anytime you do a work, and I always tell people, when you create your rituals, you should never end a ritual without doing some form of meditation before you close the ritual out. Very important. I can't stress that enough. It is not good to just abruptly finish a ritual without some meditation ritual. Because in that meditative state, there's an old saying, right? And I've mentioned this off and on a few times over the years. No wise mystic or sage ever received a revelation while they were talking. Think about that for a minute. What does that say? No great mystic, sage, or guru ever received a revelation while they were talking. Meditation is the art of listening. Okay, listening for what? Listening for the spirits to communicate. And let me address another occult 101. How does spirit communicate? This is my favorite. I got bad news for you aesthetic people who think spirit only communicates. The demon comes looking, floating. You are my chosen son and daughter. Come to me. No. I'm going to tell you less than 1% to 2% of experiences actually have that actually to it. Okay? Hold on. What happened? Can you guys hear me? Can somebody type in if you can hear? I don't know what happened. Hold on. Can you hear me now? All right, I'm good now. Yeah, something I saw it. Something popped off on them. Yeah, they'll do that because of what we're talking about. All right, I got a couple more things. I'm almost done, and I'm gonna go to the chat. All right, my bad. I don't know what happened. I saw it though. I saw it. The light went off, so I don't know what the fuck happened. But anyway, the last thing I want to talk. There's more, but I think the last thing I'll finish with here is how does spirit communicate? It's not just always a visual, okay? No, the sound is on. Hold on. It just seems like it's 2 or 3 of you can't hear me. Only thing I would suggest, go back out and try to come back in. Yeah, refresh. Some people are saying refresh because it just seems it's 2 or 3 of you. So my mic, my blue light is on now, so it should be good. The sound should be good. All right. How does spirit communicate? You must learn to use all of your faculties and senses to communicate with spirit. Touch, right? Sound, smell, okay? All of that is critical when connecting with spirit. All right? So, for an example, when you're doing your rituals, as I said, sometimes in silence, you must listen for that inner voice or communication, that voice that you hear, that inner voice, that's the spirit communicating to you. Sometimes the scent or the smell of certain things in rituals, it could be incense. See, incense to me is not just the fact of burning something that smells nice. Certain incense that I work with over the years carry a certain fragrance that activates through the sense of smell a certain spiritual vibration and frequency. This is why I don't just use any type of incense in my spiritual work, because some incense I just don't like the vibration it gives off. So smell is also connected to vibration and touch, because all of those senses kind of intertwine and work with each other, right? And then yes, there is imagery to it, whether you have mental visualizations, literal manifestations. Long story short, you must have the ability to use all of your senses to communicate with the spirit. It's not always some figure that you're going to see, some image. Unfortunately, people, if they don't get that in their mind, not all, some think they weren't successful at their ritual. Sometimes you do a ritual and days later you get intense periods of communication. And that's how this works. So you must be able to use all of your senses to connect with spirit. I, per se, sometimes can smell spirit when I'm at my altar. Because sometimes, for an example, if you're working with the mask of Lucifer, there's a metallic taste and smell in the air, sometimes of blood, right? You can taste it, you can smell it. And sometimes that's the spirit letting you know. You must also be able to understand how to work with the elements, because sometimes through the elements of water, smoke, and fire, there's communication from the spirit, okay? So that's another occult 101 essential that you must have the ability to do. So there's more. For the sake of time, I'm going to stop there and go through the chat now. See, I don't know if I can get to everything. I'll try to go through some. And as long as it's pertaining to what we talked about, I don't want to go too off topic because that takes up too much time. So if it's relevant to what we're talking about, I'll try to go through that the best I can. But these are just, I'll probably do a follow-up to this. These are just some of the foundational principles in my, in my opinion, nice, that one needs to be very conscious and aware of and work on. All right. All right. So let me go up. Let me see what we got here. I'm going to start at the top. I'm going to go in order to be fair to those that were here earlier. I also want to put out there, you should have got a notification. You can also become a member of the YouTube channel. There's 3 tiers now I've established you can sign up for. You should have got a notification. I don't know why I don't see it here, but it's activated. I got to check on that. I have 3 tiers where tier 1 is like $5 a month. That gives you your comments and your questions will automatically come up first. So I'm trying to put little perks in. That'll automatically, if you're a member, your comments will come up first. Same thing, tier 2 gives you that with badges and shout outs and all that stuff. And then tier 3 will give you what's on tier 1 and 2. But also, I'm going to start probably next month doing maybe once every month or so, just a live stream for members only on YouTube, where you'll have access and it'll be a little bit more personalized. You should be able, I don't know, I thought it would, maybe I can't see it from inside the studio, but I got to make sure that's activated. I activated it and they gave me confirmation, but I just wanted to put that out there. All right, so let's see what we got. So that Jenny, Facebook is a joke. Somebody had reached out to me and asked me why I stopped doing live stream on it. The only thing I do on there, which I got to get with my man Taja, long delayed. Actually, I think I'm going to text him after this. The Hip Hop Occult show, which we were supposed to schedule one of those about a week or 2 ago, but I'm going to get one for this month for sure. That's the only thing I live stream on there because you can play all the music you want. They don't really fuck with you. But man, they just getting outrageous with all this. It used to be as simple as just connecting to the live stream when you were live streaming it, say from Zoom. Now they're asking all this crazy shit, and I'm not doing all that shit. And I just don't want to put all that information in. And it's crazy. Yeah, they're getting too much with requesting all this personal shit, and to me, it's not worth it. So as far as the YouTube videos, I kind of just upload them after this comes up here. I don't live stream from Facebook no more. I know Instagram is owned by Facebook, but you don't have to go through the same bullshit. Actually, let me not skip my people over here on Instagram. I'm sorry, my bad. Yeah, I saw a comment here. Dragon's blood is a very powerful incense that's used in a lot of occult rituals. Now, I will say grades of dragon's blood out there. Get a good quality. If it's a stick incense, which I don't try not to use too many of those for rituals, maybe for simple meditations. I always like to use good resins, rocks, things that you can burn on charcoal that are more natural. You got to be careful with some of those stick incense. Some of them are very cheap quality, cheap fragrances, and they have very perfumey smells. I'm real finicky when it comes to incense. I've been using probably a select few for a long time. And occasionally, I actually have a whole line that I use that's actually made, believe it or not, by some monks over in Russia, believe it or not. I don't know if I'll be able to get that anymore because of what's going on. But I usually try to get that they're made from real natural resins because they tend to be of a better quality and it tends to enhance the ritual, in my opinion, better. I also use a couple of brands that come out of the Middle East that are very good. The Bokor is very good, good quality. The only thing that with the Bokor, it seems like you always got to feed the burner. They probably don't burn as long as I would like. You always seem like you keep feeding the charcoal with it, but it's just because it burns so fine. It tends to have a high quality of resin. But yes, that's dragon's blood for sure. All right, what else we got? Yeah, so Facebook is a joke. I agree. All right. Yes, Kiona, I saw your upgrade to the mentorship program. So we need to, or send me a message if I forget. We need to set up your first mentorship call to get that started and get going in that direction. I saw that today. So please, I'll try to remember right when I get off. All right, what else we got? Yeah, man. Look, there's a lot of people talking about what's going on with this. What's this war really about? This whole, listen, man, trying to tell you, don't let them bullshit you. Now, all of a sudden, since when? And I remember I pulled up something a while ago. The amount or the percentage of oil that we got from Russia, right, is that they're claiming it's that drastic to the point where you see where gas is at right now. I'm trying to tell you what they're getting ready to do. Pay attention. All these things going on are smaller moves leading to bigger moves. Okay? All this shit that you see going on, this man basically going in there, Putin, and basically, like Hitler, just saying, fuck it, I'm taking what's mine. All those, sanctions that they're laying on, it ain't gonna stop shit. Okay, trust me when I tell you. Because don't let this NATO shit, and I don't want to get into all politics now because that's a whole nother story. Don't let that NATO shit and these other countries act like they're for world peace, because they're still negotiating nuke deals with Iran and Russia and all these countries that claiming that they've imposed sanctions on. They're still negotiating with them and talking to them because there's a bigger agenda at play here. Don't get caught up in that shit. There's a lot more going on the surface, and you'll see it play out. All right. Yeah. Make sure you hit the subscribe button, the like button. And again, if you came in late, when you obviously just not my channel, any channel, remember when you subscribe to a channel and hit the notification bell, you must also hit the drop down in the bell and hit all notifications to get notified, right? All right. I think I know that was from much earlier, that comment. Yeah, the Journey of the Black Adept Conference, again, for those that came late, will be October 27th to October 30th. Again, we will have a meet and greet on the 27th like we did last year. That'll be about 8 o'clock. And that's just what it is, a meet and greet. Just to, everybody introduces each other, get that all out the way, break the ice, just a quick couple hours of socializing. And then Friday morning, we get right to work. All day Friday from about 9 to 3:30, classes and workshops with a lunch break in between. And then we come back in the evening and do our ritual. That same schedule for Saturday. And then Sunday, we have closed it out with a question and answer discussion session on all the day's events or any questions on the occult. It's a nice 4-day event. We've done it for the last 4 years. We had a nice location this past year. More than likely, that's probably what we'll be using again this year. It was right in the heart of downtown Hollywood, Florida. It had access to everything. It was close to the airport, close to lodging, restaurants. It was in an ideal area. And more than likely, that's exactly where we're going to do it this year. I know that invitation has already been extended to me because the people that own the building and the facility that we did it at this past year, I know them for a few years. And they're very good people, and they're very accommodating people. And it worked out great. So more than likely, 99.9%, it will be there again this year. So yes, you can mark your calendars for that, October 27th to October 30th. It's always, though the date will change every year slightly day-wise, but it's always that last October weekend, the last 4 days of the year. So you could pretty much mark that down. Again, we do that so people can make plans for traveling, etc. All right. So again, if I didn't acknowledge you earlier, I know some other people came. I did greet some people personally. So greetings to everybody to save time so I don't have to run off names. Yeah, serpent-headed mask. Like I was talking about earlier, again, not to get into the COVID thing because that's like beating a horse. Yeah, when, quote unquote, Fauci just said a couple of weeks ago, he believes that we've hit the plateau or the peak. And he also believes that we've obtained a certain level of herd immunity until there's another spike, and hopefully there's not, And then it's doomsday, end of the world bullshit all over again. Oh, fucking the hospitals, don't go out, don't have fucking holidays, just tie yourself up to your fucking couch and don't leave your house. That type stuff. Let's hope, for everybody's sake, we are getting back to some level of normalcy. Let's hope we have obtained, because eventually any virus, you're going to obtain immunity. Unfortunately, people have to die to obtain that immunity. So let's just hope it's none of us, and just do the normal. Like I said, I just didn't understand this. Wash your hands and shit. Wasn't anybody doing this before? Who was a nasty motherfucker that wasn't doing that stuff before? Like, nobody was washing their hands after they went into the bathroom. Nobody comes in at night and takes a shower. I got OCD with that. I can't go to bed and just hop into my bed and being out. If I go to a sporting event, I'm sitting and touching all them places. How do you get in your bed after going to a club or being at a bar at a sporting event, touching all that shit? You just go lay in your bed? Like, what is that? It makes no sense to me. But apparently, I guess we needed to be reminded. And somebody's lighting fireworks. I don't know what the fuck that's for. What's today? Is today anything? Happy March? What's today? Yeah, I know that. But, like, who the fuck lights fireworks on... I don't know if you guys can hear that. There's a fireworks show going on outside. Unbelievable. These people ain't got nothing to do, I guess. Again, let me stop wasting your time. Let me stop.
Yeah.
All right. What else we got? All right. Yeah, it's true. Yeah, the Super Bowl came, so they had to make sure they made their money. Anyway. All right, so what else we got? Yeah, as I said, yeah, like I go back. I told you it's gonna be a crazy year with a lot of people going crazy. Unfortunately, look, I tried to tell. Look, not that I was hoping. I don't want to say no names, but you look at what's that dude that's gone batshit crazy right now? That young Pharaoh dude. That dude's gone batshit crazy. I saw some video where he said he's gonna be in the next Star Wars movie. Listen, if you start taking things and you're not mentally prepared to absorb them, shit like that can happen. And then put hallucinogens and narcotics on top of it, and that makes it even worse. But when I was saying that shit a couple of years ago, you're gonna see a lot of these people going batshit crazy. There's some others. I don't want to say no names, but there's some others. That's because they're not grounded in reality. When everything becomes subjective and spiritual, everything, and they lose sight of everyday reality, craziness kicks in. I keep telling you guys that. One of the other, let me just throw that in there real quick, essentials, Occult Science 101 essentials, is you must have a fine level of balance and harmony between the spiritual world and the physical world. Another huge problem is some people are so spiritual, everything is spiritual and spooky and deep, and everything is way out there to left field, they become batshit crazy because they forgot there is a physical part of this. And you're witnessing that. I told you you're gonna see more people go batshit crazy. It's happening. All right. What else we got? I appreciate the comment by Kiona. The classes are life-changing in real life. Everyone needs to be on the high tiers on Patreon. Yes. Again, tier 3. I would recommend at minimum patreon.com/Baniti, BANITI. On Patreon, tier 3. We have our next shadow work class this upcoming Saturday. We're on number 4. It's going to be quite a few of them because there's a lot of work that needs to be done. And I've received some personal emails on the side from people taking that class. Some of it will bring you to tears. It really will. Some of the shit that people have uncovered, and as I'm talking about it now, my shoulder's burning like a motherfucker. But people are really starting to realize what finally, they needed to fix and work on, and shit they needed to access to get things going. I had one person contact me in the class and say they've been on this path for 3 years and weren't getting shit done, and now they started doing this, the shadow work, the right way, and they've made more progress in the last couple months than they did in them 3 years. So what that does tell me, it doesn't tell me anything, pat myself on the back that I'm doing anything great. It just tells me that a person is finally getting the access to information that they can utilize and really utilize to do something that's going to make a difference for themselves. All right. All right. So what else we got here? All right. Make sure them candles don't ignite a fire there, Kiana. Just kidding. All right. All right. Slim Lewis. I think I answered that question. Didn't I see it now, but I think I answered that. You mentioned demons are both external and internal. How do you differentiate the difference between an actual message from an external demon versus your own imagination and thoughts? Okay, so there's a second part to that. Good question. Well, I did the internal external thing. I think this was earlier, so you should have been here. You should have been there for that part. So if you haven't, go back so I don't have to rehash all that because it was quite a bit. But the second part of your question is very important. Good point. How do you know that the messages you're getting are an external, a demon, or your imagination or your thoughts? Right? Excellent question. Real simple. How you know is real simple. From those messages, are you applying the information from those messages and getting results? If so, then there's your answer. If you're getting all these messages and they're not doing anything, it's not bringing any substantial change or results, and maybe it could even be taking you in the wrong direction, then that could be a product of your imagination. That could be something you're conjuring up, and the information could be off, it could be incorrect, and therefore it could be leading you or misguiding you. And really, to sum it up in a nutshell, and I say this because there's so many people out there who claim, and I don't know why you motherfuckers don't call some of these people out. I really don't. There's some people I've heard over the years on different platforms make these prophecies who claim they're communicating with spirits, claim that the spirit told them this and that. Like, let me give you an example. And this is where you need to call people out on their bullshit. What do I mean by that? For example, when the COVID stuff first hit, everybody after COVID was claiming, oh, I got a message from the ancestors. The ancestors told me this. Everybody was an expert on COVID after COVID hit. Where are all the 5G people that disappeared, blew in the wind, gone? There was a group of people who were so sure that they were getting communication from the ancestors that it was the 5G, right? And as I said before, 5G's been in place way before COVID even started. China's been using 5G, I forgot. You go back more than 6, 7, 8, 9 years ago, even further. 5G technology is not new. These are the same people that are claiming that the ionized radiation in the 5G was activating, causing a mutation in the cells that was opening up people to catching this quote unquote COVID that's transmitted through the 5G. Then there's the same sources that are claiming that the level of ionized radiation in the 5G is no different than having a Bluetooth in your ear. Which one is it? And they're using data off of these government sites, and the same sites they're claiming you can't trust. These are people using some of the same information off the site. So it's all confusion and bullshit. You also have people that say the ancestors told them this, that, about COVID, this and that, but how come none of the ancestors told them it was coming before it was coming? That's my problem. And I've heard people make a lot of false predictions, and nobody calls them out on it. That's how you know you're not getting messages from spirit, because your shit is wrong. You're spitting the wrong shit. You're making prophecies and telling people this and that, and then when it doesn't come to fruition, how quick people forget. Because it's not me. You say some shit. Didn't you say 2 years ago that such and such was going to happen? That's why I don't ever get on here and say the ancestors told me this, or the spirit told me this, or the spirit told me that. I'll say it, but when I do say it, it's very direct and specific. That's the shit you got to be careful of, because there's a lot of bullshit. So how you differentiate whether it's your imagination or you're creating this in your own mind is based on the results. It's that simple, but it's a good question. All right, what else we got? Try to get through a few more. Juan Valdera says, Brother Baniti, have you read The Tale of Wu by RZA. Not yet. I heard about it. I have not yet read it, from the Wu-Tang Clan. I find a lot of gems in there that are similar to the Left-Hand Path. RZA's not. Now, I just recently saw that a new video and some new stuff he put out recently, and he was dropping a lot of stuff in there. But I will make a note of that and check that out. Thanks. I have heard about it, but no, I have not looked at it yet, but I will. All right. What else we got? Yes, I think that was a comment from earlier when we were talking about the ancestors. Not all the ancestors are here productively for you. Stop fooling yourself. That's why I say we don't do that traditional shit and pour out libation. I'm not going to pour out alcohol for an ancestor that was a wino. Think about it. Why have we been deceived in thinking that every ancestor we have is positive and productive for us? They're not, people. Some of your ancestors were murderers, killers, rapists, drug addicts, alcoholics. Why would you want to connect with them? For what purpose? You must know when you're doing ancestral work and invoking your ancestors, there's a threefold process to address them correctly. You must address the ones you know. You must also acknowledge the ones you don't know that are there for your growth, and you must also do a certain practice to not invite ones that are not welcome, that are not there for your growth. We're not taught that. We're taught, ashe, and invoke the ancestors and pour libation out. And I don't do that shit. That's that traditional bullshit. Okay? Because if you know your ancestors, you know. You got some shady ones that are trying to get in, try to come in through that crown chakra and possess you and use you as a vehicle because they got an addiction and they're stuck in limbo. They can't leave this realm because they might like drugs and they might use you, and then all of a sudden you feel the urge to start doing drugs you've never done before because you've done some work at your altar and opened yourself up to spirits you wasn't ready for. See, you guys don't know nothing about that. Some don't. So you must be very careful in that practice. Some people go, start doing work. Why am all of a sudden I have this urge to do all this crazy shit? And then you start eating crazy shit. Why am I eating shit? I never used to eat this shit before. You might have opened yourself up to an ancestral spirit that maybe likes spare ribs or some shit. And they needed you as a vessel to get here because they were so addicted to eat motherfucking spare ribs when they were here. I'm just keeping it real with you. This is how the shit works. You may not think so, but I'm telling you. Some of your ancestors are in a state of limbo. They're trapped in the physical realm and the spiritual realm, and they don't want to leave here because they are so trapped and addicted to something here that they can't make the transition. And when you openly set up your altar and by your blood, just the invocation, and that crown chakra is open, poof, it's like a landing site for them. They see the vessel is open. I can come into that person if I decide, because they don't know what the fuck they're doing. People talk about trickster spirits, specters, ghouls, all that shit. You must be conscious of all that. You must know how to address it. You must know how to recognize it. Okay? So that old traditional bullshit, there's more to it. You can do that if you want. But that's why some people go batshit crazy, because they don't know what they're doing. All right? Hollow Vega. Yeah, I've always been sketchy about that download shit. I think, man, look. This pack, get your own downloads. That's what my message is. That's what I'm saying. I don't co-sign on nobody's personal subjective experience because it's just that. It's personal. This is why I said I do not get on here and talk about a whole bunch of subjective shit and want you guys to agree with it. Because then I'm doing what religion did. I'm starting a religion. Because if I tell you about all personal experience I've had with spirits and in rituals, and you go, oh, yeah, I accept that. That's real. Oh, Baniti had an experience with Bilal, so I'm going to accept that as fact. No, you don't accept that as fact. You need to have your own experience. Because if you do co-sign on my personal experiences or anybody else's, then you are a follower, whether you like it or not. I don't give a fuck. You're a follower. You're not a god. You're not a goddess. You don't stand on your own too. You follow people. There's a difference between, like I said, having teachers, guides, and elders. That's fine. But as long as at the end of the day, you're making the decisions for you and for yourself, you're not letting anybody dictate that to you. If you are, sorry to bust your bubble, you're a follower. It's just what it is. I'm not going to sugarcoat it. Okay? What else we got? Yeah, you have to study. Or Oni or soon. Wow, it's been a minute. Oni's here. All right. I just noticed that was Oni. Yeah, you're right. You have to read and study, man. You got to do the work. This is work. Don't let nobody shit you and fool you. I've said it a million times and I'll say it a million times again. This is work. I wish it was that easy. I wish it was just poof, snack, crackle, pop. Harry Potter waved the wand and it's all taken care of. I wish it was that easy. It's just not. It's just not how it works. All right. I'm just going to kind of speed it up a bit, see if I catch anything else. What else? Yeah. This is funny but true comment by Jenny. I got to read this. A new ager will fuck you up if you let them. They're creepy guys in the psychic bookstores who always want to tell you. It's true. Them motherfuckers, I'm sorry. It's some weird shit going on in them places. Now, I'm not going to lie. Once in a while, I've gone in there in the past in some of them spots here and there for a tarot deck that I might have just wanted to collect or was interested in and feeling it out. I've gone in there in the past maybe for crystals because those are some of the best spots to get crystals and stones. But them motherfuckers be on some shit because I told you now, in that whole new age world, right, you got there's this new age aspect of Lilith. There's this new age aspect of Kali and Hecate. They've taken a lot of some of the darker gods and goddesses and come up with this fluffy stuff. You good? You got my grub over there? Huh? You got Pop Scrub over there? Pop Scrub, Daddy's grub. Food, yeah? Yeah, everybody's eating. I'll be over there in a minute. Yeah, it can be. There's some funny motherfuckers in there, though, man. That's that, and I find that it's not to be judgmental. I find a lot of people in those type of bookstores and groups. A lot of them got some psychological issues that they hide in those paths because they running from some shit they don't want to deal with, and they hide behind the love and light and peace and love and I love you. I love you. You know, the Barney shit. I love you. You love me. We are all one family. That shit's just not real, man. Anyway. All right. What else we got here? Yeah. That's a good point. Shadow work is the spiritual equivalent of doing the steps in AA, Alcoholics Anonymous. What's step one in a what is it? A 12-step, 10-step program, whatever they call it. Step one is admitting you got a problem. That same rule in shadow work. Realizing you got some shit you got to work on, right? There's some people who have deceived themselves so bad they don't think they got anything wrong. They literally think everything ain't nothing wrong with me. I'm A-okay. That's the first problem they got, thinking there's nothing wrong with them. So yes, you hit that right on the head. Step one is it coming to the realization you got some shit you need to work on and fix. All right. What else we got? Brother Gumbo. I love that. That's a cool name. Blessings. Brother Gumbo. What else we got? Jayla Denti. Beniti, you've been in my dreams a few times. Lo, it's weird. Well, I might have to talk about that on the side. Jenny says, I hate looking at me, but when I do, I realize it's better than I thought. Watson. That's right. Great. Look. Step one, you must. It's funny because I'm glad you bring that up, Jenny, because one of the things we did in shadow work class was embracing every aspect of our physical selves, the way we look, our bodies, because one of the struggles that people struggle with themselves in shadow work is they have a lot of people are not comfortable with their physical body, the way they look, and that's self-hate on a subconscious level. I can't stress that enough. And you must, and I want to sound like a motivational fucking, what's that dude, Tony Robbins. I don't want to sound all fluffy, but yes, you must love every aspect of yourself, every imperfection, every skin blemish. And then here's the thing we teach in shadow work class. A lot of those things you can fix. If you don't like your body, you can exercise. You can change your diet. You can't sit there and complain that when it comes to, let's say, body type, but you must. And if you are in that state, you must say, I embrace every aspect of myself. What you trying to do, buddy?
I'm trying to put
Yeah. That's step one. You look the way you look because that's the way you're supposed to look. And you can only be you. Stop trying to look like other people. Stop trying to be other people. because that also in shadow work, it also ties into the trinity of self, who you think you are, who you try to make people see, who you want to be. And then there's the third part, which I always said is who you really are. That's what shadow work is about. Understanding the trinity, right, of self. The first two steps of that are illusionary. You must remove that to get to the third part, which is really you. And physical, some people are not comfortable with their bodies, the way they look, their skin complexion, their hair. Some people are so hung up on certain features, their eyes, their nose, their lips. Guess what? That makes you who you are. Remember, beauty truly is in the eye of the beholder. What one person thinks is ugly, another person thinks is beautiful. It's all about perception. And the only way you can tap into that understanding is accepting and embracing and being proud of who you are, the way you look, the good and the bad, and embracing all of it. Until you do that, you will never feel good about yourself. This is why I couldn't give. And part of it is having tough skin. You're not supposed to give a fuck what anybody thinks. So you might think I'm too big as a female, but there's some men that love big women. You might think you're too skinny, and there's some men that like skinny women. Vice versa. There's some women that like big men. Some men are hung up about their weight. I'm too big. I'm not attracted. There's some women that they love big men. That's just the way it is. You understand? So you can only be you. And remember, the things that you can change, you can change those things. But you can't sit around, whine, bitch, and complain and have a pity party for yourself if you ain't gonna make an effort. If you have certain things and the ability to change them, then that's what you need to do. If you don't, and you just sit around bitching, moaning, and complaining, then that's all on you. You ain't got nobody to blame but yourself, right? So step one, yes, you must love yourself, man. So I say that to Jenny, and anybody else. I don't care if you got warts, imperfections on your body. I don't care if your elbow looks funny. I don't give a fuck if you got a toe that's crooked throwing gang signs. I don't care if your shit comes over your sand. Let me stop. I'm just talking shit now. But embrace it. That's what you got. Embrace it. You understand, or do something about it. All right. Yes. Jenny, yes. Paulo and getting crowned and all that. It's not, I got to say the same thing. Yes, I'm not saying there's not good things to it. I'm not saying there's things you can't learn from it, but I can say, back then, you probably expected more if that's the right thing. It was a lot of shit you had to deal with, but you found out that there was still a lot more you learned. So that was earlier when we were talking about being initiated in certain spiritual traditions and systems. I find over the years that people are more infatuated with the idea of being initiated than actually understanding the initiation itself. And you don't want to get caught up in that mindset. I'm glad the Kiona, the shadow work classes are working, and we got a lot more to touch on. And we getting there. We just opening the door. Yes, is that armchair magicians? Yeah, fuck armchair magicians. Just like you have armchair quarterbacks, right? In sports, everybody's an expert sitting on the couch, but when they get out there on the field, it's a different game. And we don't want to be armchair magicians. We want to be practicing magicians. The people that just sit and we read a bunch of books and we can regurgitate a lot of information. That's an armchair magician, right? We want to be people that are actually, and this is why I say, when I was talking about earlier, when people come down and visit and do the rituals, this is why I want to have a conversation with you before you come. Because when you come into the temple down here and do the work with us, you better be ready and prepared. We don't take armchair magicians down here. We go to work. And if you've been down here and you've worked with me, you know what I'm talking about. But that stays in the temple. But yes, we want to apply what we learn. That's the difference with what we do and other paths do. What good is all this knowledge? What good is reading all of these books? What good is taking all of these classes if you don't take the knowledge that you've learned and you apply it in your everyday life? That's how you get results, and that's how you become successful, but most definitely. All right. All right. Let me see any other questions. I'm kind of going through this quick. Julie Clark said, had the crash, doing better now. Okay, good to hear that. Stay up. Yeah, Gingy, we all have a long way to go. But then you go on to say you have much more stability and not as nervous as you used to be. The sky is not falling anymore. I used to be terrified. That alone is huge for me. And but see, there you go. That's step one. Again, that realizing that you got shit you got to work on. And that's as long as you could be real with yourself. That's what I meant earlier. I said the only person you can't lie to is yourself, right? And a lot of us, whether we have anxiety issues, phobias, fears, insecurities, we all have them to a degree. May not be all in the same exact way, but we all deal with them, right? We all deal with it. We must address that. We cannot pretend that does not exist, right? So you're on the right track. And there's a lot more work to do. But you've cracked the door. That's progress. We got to keep going. Keep moving forward. And this is also the concept we talk about on this path, making order out of your chaos. All of these things that we got to work on that we uncover in shadow work is chaos, right? Now you're dealing with the science of Set and Apep. You now become like Set and you take and make order out of Apep or chaos. That's what you're doing, essentially. And there's going to be a whole ritual in the shadow work class that's centered around the whole Set and Apep concept. I'm going to show you how you're going to take some of these things now. So now that you guys, some of you guys, the ones that are in the shadow work class, you did the 30-day journal. We're about to take it to the next phase, and it's going to get even more intricate. I'm going to show you now how you now create work for specific needs and shit you got to work on. That's how this works. Because now that you've uncovered things and you got a clear path and direction of what you need to work on, now you can access certain spirits and demons that work in that area for those things that you need to specifically attack and deal with. That's how you create ritual work. That's how you lay out your path to self-mastery. That's how you become successful on this path, because now you have differentiated between needs and wants. That's another problem people have no control over or discipline. People don't realize they're spending most of their life chasing wants. And in that distraction of chasing wants, they're neglecting the needs, the shit that got to really be addressed. So shadow work shows you I need to focus on my needs first. I can get the wants at some point. Maybe there's certain wants I need to put on pause. That's not as critical or as important. And this also helps you manage your time, because most people focus their time and energy on wants, not needs. Shadow work addresses the needs first, and then you move from that point forward. That's how this works. All right. All right. All right, what else we got? I'm just catching a few. I can't get to all these. I'm just saying anything that stands out that might be kind of in line with what we're talking about. All right, so this is a good comment by Serpent-Headed Mask. Financially, not which. So when we were doing that test, do you see overall results spiritually, mentally, mostly physically, and financially? I'm going to tell you. I've said something a good years ago, and I've said it off and on here and there. A good, healthy income can solve probably not all life's problems, 75% or more of life's problems. Because, see, that old saying that they use in the Bible, that money is the root of all evil. It's not the root of all evil. It's how you use money. Okay, because that's bullshit. Money isn't the root of all evil. It's just, if you know how to use money correctly, you see, when you're mundane, when you're not stressed out about having not enough of money to do things, whether it's to pay your mortgage, your rent, your bills, when that stress is constantly hanging over your head, that can filter into your spiritual life, and it can affect the production and the results that you get. And this is why I say it bothers me. I'm sorry, excuse me. It bothers me when the financial aspect of success on most spiritual paths is never really included. It's always like downplayed. Oh, don't worry about it if you're poor, miserable, and piss broke. There's a great reward spiritually waiting for you later. No. We on this path of self-mastery, we want our pie now. We don't want the pie in the sky later. We want it now. So I always say strive to be on all levels to be financially successful. Don't let nobody tell you otherwise, because it can affect your spirituality. And I think all of us can work in that area. I don't think in my opinion, I don't think there's ever such a thing as having enough. So it's not about just, see, this is what I mean with the abuse of money. It's not just about, you got some people who just hoard it and save it and they're never doing nothing with it. That's just as bad as people who piss money away. You need to know how to allocate money. And one thing, we've never been educated on finances. You need to know how to invest money and how money can make money while you're not doing anything with it. You also need to know how to spend money and also enjoy yourself, but not exceed your means. You also need to know how to obtain the things you want and get the things you need done, but staying within your means, knowing how to allocate or budget your money. There's a science to that. Some people's lives are in disarray because they don't know how to handle money. I'll just keep it real. And we have to not, and I do plan on some point in the shadow work class, that will be part of it, showing you how money can be a cancer and a poison and a destructive force in your life, and how it can be very productive if you know how to use it wisely. Some people have terrible spending habits and it creates turmoil in their life. Some people are impulse buying, no discipline, and they buy on impulse, and they see something and they got to have it. And that could be a good thing and a bad thing. If you can afford it, that's one thing. But being an impulse buyer and going outside your means, that could be detrimental and cause a lot of problems in your life. That's part of shadow work. And that will be addressed in the shadow work class too. So money is not the root of all evil. It's just knowing how to use money. Money can be destructive, but money can be very productive. We on this path choose the productive part of it. So don't let anybody tell you, oh, don't worry about it if you're piss broke now. Because when you die, you go into heaven and you're going to be floating around with little fat kids in diapers. And man, get the fuck out of here with that shit. Save that fairy tale for somebody else that wants that nonsense. All right, what else we got? What else we got? All right, just skipping some of the comments. I'm going to see if there's any question. Yeah, good. This is a good comment, though. You know, think about why people stay. It's funny because people so indoctrinated in religion because, you know, if you're in the church, you can go out, party, get fucked up. You know, you can go out hoeing, man can go out whoring or whatever. And then, you know, all you got to do is go to church Sunday, ask for forgiveness, and just start all over again on Monday. And then when the weekend comes, you get a free pass. So if you're Catholic, you just go to confession, say a couple Our Fathers, a few Hail Marys, and all your sins is forgiven. You get a clean slate. I wish it was that easy, people. It don't work that easy, okay? And that keeps you in that cycle. I mean, look at the redundant cycle they're in. I mentioned this, I don't know if it was a Patreon class or one of the last YouTube videos. Look at how they have a liturgical calendar in the church, and they use the same thing all throughout the year. We're in what they call Lent now, right? And then we approach Easter, and then before you know it, Advent's here, and then Christmas, ordinary time. It's the same cycle. They regurgitating and recycling the same shit. There's no growth. There's no change. And anything that doesn't change, what? Dies. And you find the mentally dead in churches. You find the mentally dead in cemeteries. You find seminaries. And then you find the physically dead in cemetery. And by the way, you find crosses in all three of those places, in the church, in seminaries, and cemeteries. It's where the mentally and the physically dead reside, right? And it's a path of the mentally dead. That's what religion is. It's the spiritual system of the mentally dead, because you're recycling the same shit over and over. You're not changing anything. And as I said before, especially when you look at Catholicism, they're not changing a motherfucking thing. You don't see, I've mentioned this many times, you don't see Catholics out evangelizing like all these non-denominational and all these other Christian sects do. You don't see Catholics out on the street trying to convert people. You don't see them evangelizing because of money and power. They don't need to. You understand? Because they're set in their ways. That's a whole nother level of shit that people have no idea about. Okay, so it's a lot, man. It's layers upon layers. All this you must look. We're also doing on the Patreon class, the Esoterical Occult Bible Study class, which I think we're on number 5 now, approaching 5 or 6. I don't remember. But we're breaking down. We're going through every nook and cranny of the scriptures, every book in the Bible. We're going to be tackling the Quran soon. We're going to be breaking down the esoterical and hidden meanings, where these stories originated from, the cultures that predated it, the origin of these books. We're breaking down the whole history of the Nicene Council, how they put this shit together, what books they choose, what books they left out, why they left certain books out. We're talking about a lot of the hidden books that were left out, or some of the Apocrypha, the hidden Gospels. We just did the Gospel of Barnabas, all 222 books or chapters that most people ain't aware of, right? Because there's a lot of information in there that contradict mainstream Christianity. So when they uncovered the scrolls of Qumran in the Qumran caves, the Dead Sea Scrolls, that was one of them they uncovered, and they said, nope, that shit got to come out. We can't leave that in there, because then our whole narrative of the greatest story ever told, the crucifixion, people won't buy it. Listen, these fuckers got together. They knew from day one what they were doing. If they put together a system of fear, and that's what it's based on, then they knew they could keep everybody in control. It's a lot of shit. It's a lot of shit. And then what I try to do is put all this shit together. Religion, different spiritual paths. This is why we can't succumb to we can't label ourselves anything, because you limit the potential that you have, right? That's why I don't even like to use the word left-hand path, because that has some negative connotations to it. That's why you see I more and more now say path of self-mastery. I don't want to label ourselves no more. We don't want to put ourselves in a box, because unfortunately, when some people hear the word left-hand path, they think of like Satanism and just Satanists, as if that's all left-hand path is, and it's not. It goes a lot deeper than that. All right. Yeah. What else we got? Yeah, there's a good comment by Mitchell Ford. Consistency. Excuses and lack of consistency brings me fear and anxiety now. My thoughts run wild and physically affect me and the world around me. It can, when you don't have it, a grip on it. So that's real. So that's a form of shadow work that you have to work on. That can create issues for you. But again, step 1 is realizing it. And obviously you've realized that, just as Ginny was saying earlier. She realized certain things, and as others were mentioning, serpent-headed mask. This is good, because people are now coming to the realization they're addressing critical things that they need to deal with. That's shadow work, people. That's real shadow work, not this fucking superficial fucking bullshit you see on the internet. There's a good comment too. I hope I'm not butchering your name, Ms. Wacky Mix Zivion. People don't forget the world responds to your frequencies. We are transmitters, 100%. The energy you put out is the energy you get back. Your vibration and frequency, the vibe. We always say, right, like, look, to show that that's true, it's a very simple thing you can refer to. Think about when you meet a person and you like their personality. Go, oh, that person's cool. I like their vibe. Think when you meet a negative person, because they send out negative energy, you go, man, that person's fucked up. I'm not feeling them. They got an ill vibe, or they got a nasty vibe. So it is true. People that walk around miserable all day thinking negative thoughts, they are transmitting that out into the ethers, and it has an effect. That's why they're miserable, because all they tap into and all they receive back is that bullshit that they always feeling and sending out. And as it goes back to the old adage, you do become your thoughts. If you think negative shit all the time, bad shit, fucked up shit, that's what's going to manifest. If you're thinking, look, I always hear people say terms, you know what I want to do one day is I want to successfully, I have this vision of opening, I'm just using an example, opening up a motorcycle shop, because I love motorcycles. I'm going to do it one day, No, stop putting that out there into the ethers. Say, I will open it up and I will do it. There's a difference. There's a bigger difference in that vibrational frequency alone of that statement, because when you say, I'm going to try, or one day I hope to, you just defeated the purpose before you even began. It doesn't work like that. So it's true. Definitely true. All right, what else? I think I'm running out of time here, people. Let me see if there's anything. I'm going to have to scan through this. Yes, working with the chi. I see that comment by Obsidian Sun. Right, no different than when we talk. We deal with that in Egyptian Heka. It's just called the sekhem, right? It's your chi or your power, right? It's no different when you're working with the chi and or with the the aspects, the yin and the yang, or the very power, the very essence, as we call it in Egyptian Heka, the sekhem. It's the same thing. And there's ritual work to activate your sekhem or your chi. It's very important because, and really, it's connected to the heart chakra. And it's important because it's where you get your power and your passion from. So without that activation of that chi or sekhem, you can have very weak or diminished power. So it's very important. Talk about that maybe on another time. I'm just breezing through. What else? Another good comment here that caught my attention from There's Wacky McVision. If you can resurrect dead bodies, you need to raise yourself from a mundane mind. So true. That's a good one. All right. Sorry, I'm racing through this. I don't think I can get to all this. Good comment by Ken here. This one caught this one out my eye. Well, actually, let me go up D. I would like to understand what people fucking mean by the word soul, and if there's any scientific evidence of that. When you go into, for an example, Egyptian Heka, right? They refer to the Ka and the Ba, right? The soul. All that really is describing, when you take the spookism out of it, is there any tangible physical evidence on the surface outside of theories? No, there's a lot of theories in books and evidence that you can speculate over. But when you look at it from a magical perspective, we just look at the soul as the very essence of energy. Somebody we were just talking about, for an example, the chi, right? The soul and the spirit, right, are two different things. Some say both are the same, right? The soul is the very essence or the very fabric of the energy that you are before you took physical form, because we know before we took on physical form, we didn't have a physical body, right? We didn't have this flesh. When you really break it down into the three stages of solid, liquid, and gas, right? And you have some of this, you have to come to the realization in your personal work. But let's say if we use the Egyptian Heka concept, where the soul, for an example, is the very aspect or the very core fabric of who we really are from an energy perspective, right? Because at one point, for an example, they'll teach in some of the Egyptian mysteries that before we took on physical form, we were bands of light and energy, right? Literally energy, right? And there is some scientific approach to that when you get into the science of, first, and this is where they get this concept from when we go into metaphysics now and science. When you break down, at one point, remember, years ago, not too many years back, scientists at first thought atoms were the smallest particles. Then they found out atoms broke down into quarks, and quarks broke down into byads, and byads broke down into zeros, and it just kept going. So they found out that these particles, right, it's connected literally to us, and that breakdown it's never ending. They found, and this is literally what we talk about when we say, quote unquote, the other side or the spiritual realm. We find out that this is never ending. Let me give you an example. It's like if you look at the reflection in a mirror to a mirror, and it keeps going and going. You see multiple reflections of yourself, right? I use that analogy with the breakdown of atoms. It's no different. So when you get to the very essence of it, and again, you could even get into some of the theories of Einstein and Nikola Tesla. They tried to break a lot of this down. It's just going back to when you were in that etheric or energy state, as they say. Now, for an example, in the Rosicrucian order, they call it the vital life force or the vital life cord or the etheric life cord. Some of it, you have to come to the realization of it in your work. Now, the spirit, which some say is connected to the soul and some falsely say is the same thing, the spirit is just the emotions that's reflected from the soul. Because it's like when you say, oh, you must be in good spirits. Like, you must be at a game and your spirits must be high if you're cheering on your favorite team. So the spirit reflects how the soul feels.
So if your energy, if you feel fucked up, your spirit is going to reflect that. You're gonna look morbid. You're gonna look depressed. You might be sad. So the spirit taps into the emotions that the soul is emitting based on your what you're experiencing or what you're going through. But is there 100% evidence of it from the religious context and some of these mainstream contexts? No, you just can't. There's no factual evidence. But if you go study, for an example, the Ka, the Ba, the Ib, it'll give you a better breakdown of the aspect of ourselves before we took on flesh. And then it breaks down the science of that state we must go back to, right? Religion left a little key to it. From the dust of the ground you came, from the dust of the ground you shall return. That wasn't talking about the spirit or the soul body. That was talking about the physical body. Because same thing with blood, because with blood, when blood dries up, it turns into granulated dust, right? And when it told the serpent in Genesis, there's an esoterical meaning to that. It said that the serpent would roll on its belly and eat the dust of the ground, right? There was a science behind it. I was talking about the blood. It gets into something else. I mean, it's opening up. I just don't have time to get into all that now. But to give you a short answer and video on that and just do a whole thing kind of breaking that down, there's different interpretations out there on it. And I use the word interpretation. Is there 100% fact or theory on it? No. I would suggest in your personal studying and learning, you embrace it how you see fit, that it makes sense to you. Then you can get into other, I don't want to get into that now, like opening of the mouth ceremony, which was trying to show you when the soul makes its transition into the quote unquote underworld or afterlife. But that gets into a whole bunch of other stuff. So hopefully that pushes you in the right direction. But it's a topic I need more time on. All right, what else we got? All right. All right, this shit skipped. Damn. Mitchell Ford, thanks for the donation. Anybody that donated to the super chat, I appreciate it. So if I didn't acknowledge you, thank you for the donations. All right, I'm skipping, man. I got to get out of here. Sorry, people. There you go. Keon said all I wanted was a fat ass, but I got large boobs. That's it. You got to accept yourself. Yeah. Here's a good comment by Prosperity Vela. People need to do shadow work to open their spiritual past. It is the only way. They only speak of light and call everything else dark. It's not dark. It's called shadow. We are light and shadow. True indeed. And one of the paths to understand is, the black adept, through the understanding of Set and Heru, is understanding the right harmony of light and darkness. Right? That's part of uncovering the mystery of the shadow self. The harmony of light and darkness. You need both. Okay? Yoda dropped some jewels. Jewels. All right, this thing's skipping all over on me, people. All right. Unfortunately, someone said I messed with the fat, tall, skinny, big midget. Is that midget big BMG? I ain't gonna address that for now because that's just gonna make me laugh. All right, people, I'm sorry. I know I rushed. I had to skip through. I couldn't get through all the comments. I stayed on here way before. I don't see. Hold on. Okay, Joshua. Hey, brother. Super chats. I'm working on a little ritual that you emailed me on how to do, but also I want to do this in person with you. Keep up the good work. Yeah, we will follow up on that ritual as soon as you're done. And then we'll see where that's at, like we discussed. All right, that's the only super chat I see. I apologize if I ignored the super chat. I'm kind of skipping. I went way more than I thought. All right, I appreciate it. If I didn't get to your questions this time, I'll try next time, save them. Hopefully this helped. Again, I would encourage you. Oh, wait, hold on. What we got here? Atlas El Damong, through the 7 stages of alchemy correspond to the 7 Hermetic principles. Yes, there is a connection there. And especially if you've read the Alchemy for Personal Transformation book. Yes, there is a connection there with the 7 principles. And I actually show people how to use those 7 stages of alchemy in shadow work. But we will elaborate that. I'm sorry, I just saw that question at the end. I'll elaborate a little bit more on that down the road. But anyway, I'm sorry, I got to get out of here. Time to grub, time to do a couple other things before this night is out. Managing your time. That's what I'm talking about. I appreciate everybody tuning in. Check out the Patreon page, patreon.com/Baniti, Baniti. I appreciate everybody that supports the YouTube channel, all the other platforms, Primordial Chaos 9 on Instagram, and Primordial Chaos on Facebook, the Patreon page. I appreciate the support. I will get with Taja. We got to get this next hip-hop occult show going. We'll go from there. Appreciate everybody. Infernal blessings. You guys enjoy the rest of your night. We'll talk soon. All right. Check out here on Instagram.